Good evening, traders. Zach here from the Trading Network. Hope you guys are doing well and that you have enjoyed a bit of a long weekend from trading this week. It is Sunday, April 4th, and I've got another weekly market profile forecast for you guys for both ES and the NQ futures markets. So first and foremost, before we get into the weekly profile, just wanted to break down a little bit of analysis here on just the regular candlestick chart. You can see here that ES has broken the all-time highs as of our last session. And obviously we did not have any trading activity on Friday, so that's why you see there's no Friday profile, and there's basically two overnight profiles next to each other, which does not happen very often. So just wanted to point out the fact that we are resting right now at the pivot point, the Fibonacci pivot point, PP itself. And my thought is if we can't hold this level this evening through the overnight session, through the Globex session, we're very likely going to get a move down into this area right here, into S1. That is 4016. And you can see here on the profile, that is also the overnight point of control and overnight VPOC from the previous, that is Thursday into Friday session. Again, we did not have a session on Friday, so this is essentially the last profile that we have to go off of. So just to reiterate here, you can see that we have the highs from Thursday regular trading hour session, that is April 1st, and then you can see at 4016 we have the overnight VPOC and the overnight point of control. So for those of you guys who are new to the channel, this is the point of control for the overnight or the Globex session. That's where the most time was spent during that overnight session, and that is where the most volume was done as well. Very often you'll see that where the most time was spent is where the most volume was spent as well, but it doesn't always happen like that. So you can see right here, for example, here's a good example, the overnight volume point of control. I'm sorry, this is the VPOC, and the overnight point of control from the TPO side is all the way over here. And a lot of times that can be used as an area of interest if we, for instance, let's say we broke this level and we couldn't hold above it, then I'd be looking for a move back to retest this level and pick up some liquidity there. So with that said, I will be looking for this area to hold, pivot point right here. You can see this is also the value area low from the current overnight session. And if this doesn't hold, furthermore, if the current lows don't hold, I will be looking for a move back into this area. And based on reaction to this, if this doesn't hold up, we do have some weaker structure in here that is very likely to get repaired if this level gets broken. So I'd be looking at this 4014. You could just call it like a little 4-point range. If this area gets broken, I would look for a move back into that 4,000 level. So that is what I'm looking at on the downside as far as ES goes. On the upside, as you guys know, we are at all-time highs. So when we are in blue sky breakout territory, if you will, it's very important to take it level by level, first of all. And if we're in an uptrend, just allow the trend to be your friend, right? So obviously the trend, it's still intact here, but it doesn't look as clean because the op zone has been broken. So for instance, if we flip over to the 1,000 tick, check this out. We're still cleanly operating in around the opportunity zone, kind of just coming down to test support. So again, trend is our friend. We don't have to overcomplicate things. We can just follow the opportunity zone. You can see, on the 1,000 tick, it's been pretty incredible how price has respected this area so well. First time we really got to pull back into or below the 1,000 tick op zone was today on open, and pretty nice reaction there. So this is, you could consider another test of the bottom of the op zone with that pivot point acting as support. So just as kind of a real life example, if you will, on how we could use this is, you can get long based on good candlestick structure here. You can put a stop loss below this area. You have the pivot point. You have the first lower deviation of VWAP, for instance. Me personally, I probably wouldn't get long here until the oscillators reset, just to have further confluence. And also, it's not a time that I like to trade. It's super low volume, super low liquidity, and I'm not interested in putting on positions on during this time of day at all. So with that said, if this was a different time, that's how I would manage it. Probably a stop loss like below here, take profit, at these areas right there, something along those lines. So as far as ES and NQ go, they're pretty much the same structure-wise at the moment. The biggest difference is ES is at all-time highs and NQ is not, right? So I'm going to be a lot more cautious with ES. And I am going to look towards NQ to see if perhaps it's going to catch up to ES, not necessarily rip to all-time highs tomorrow, but continue the trend and pick up that strength that, it got beaten down so badly in the last few weeks, I guess you could say, that I would be looking, if this structure holds, for NQ to really get picked up and catch up here. So let's go on over to the market profile, and we will check out the weekly profile. So let me get rid of these drawings here. So as I said, we're blue sky breakout territory, right? So this level right here, the 4K level that I mentioned looking at the session profile just a few minutes ago, that is also the monthly volume composite point of control right there. So you can see, if I extend this a little bit, you can see this is where the most volume was done throughout the entire last month, okay? And that is something to note because we have only been at 4,000 for the last week, right? We only touched it. Actually, we only touched 4K the last 2-3 sessions, right? So the fact that the most volume was done up there is a very, very interesting thing to me. That tells me that perhaps we are likely to go down and again retest that area, pick up liquidity. And I don't think that, personally, that was our last time touching 4K. I think that there is a lot of business left to be done in that area and structure left to be repaired on the session profiles as well. So just to quickly reiterate with the weekly profiles up, if we can hold this level, this is the 14 level. So that was the level that I was looking at a retest of if we don't hold that pivot point. All right, just flipping back real quick. So if we don't hold this pivot point level, I'm looking for a move back down to 1416. You can see over on the right here how these levels coincide with each other. Really, really cool confluence. You'll notice a lot. If you start to use market profile, a lot of times the VWAP deviations will line up with profile levels and the Fibonacci pivots will line up with profile levels. That is not a coincidence. So another thing that I wanted to point out, flipping back to the profile here, is we've got a naked POC at 39.08. I know that's a ways away, but if we do get strong downside pressure, that is where I'm looking. Naked POCs, again, an area where there is likely to be more business done, likely to be retested and tapped, as I like to say. So if we flip over to NQ now, you can see that things are a little bit different on NQ. We are, however, above the monthly volume profile POC right here, the composite right here. You can see this level going across the screen. This is not the price. Let me get rid of these drawings briefly. Okay, so this right here, this is price line. This is the monthly POC. Okay, so we also have a regular trading hours gap that has not been filled. That gap was created. Let me show you guys that as well. If I flip back to this. All right, so going to the NQ profile. So here's the gap. Get rid of these drawings. I will get rid of these profile levels for now as well and show you the gap. All right, so right here, we got a 100-point gap essentially from the high of the March 31st regular trading hour session to the low of the April 1st trading hour session, regular trading hour session rather. Okay, so when we have a gap like that, we basically, just to kind of paint the picture here, this was our high of the day on the 31st. The overnight session was entirely long, and we opened up entirely above the highs of that previous regular trading hours profile. That's a gap and go. We open with a gap above the higher probability, or let me phrase it like this. If we open with a gap, there's two scenarios. One scenario is we quickly move down to close the gap and retest this level, right? The other scenario is we do not close the gap and we continue the trend from the overnight, right? That is the gap and go. So those are the two if-then scenarios that I look at when we open with a gap up. And you can see that, flipping back to the profile, you can see this big old gap right here that I just marked off between here and here. And this is why I only look at the regular trading hours information on my weekly market profile. I want to see gaps. I want to see thin structure that is likely to be repaired. So you can see here's a gap. So this is likely to be closed if we break this level, this 13,240 level, you could say, and we're likely to come back down here, 13,165-ish, okay? And we also have thin structure on the profile, which means that there has not been a lot of time there, that has not been a lot of business done there. And typically when you see that thin structure, either on a weekly profile or on a session profile, it's very likely to get retested and repaired, as we say. Okay, so moving back to the ES profile, I want to show you guys that, that's another difference. We don't have a gap here. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's very important to take this one level at a time. At all-time highs, I like to take things risk off. I like to be more careful. I like to trade less size a lot of times. So I will potentially be even trading more NQ because it is a bit less risk off, in my opinion, if that makes sense. So keep these levels in mind. Keep this 39.08 level. Again, it's pretty far, but keep this 39.08, 39.10 level. This is a naked POC. Keep this 4K level, that is the monthly volume point of control. And of course, keep this 14 to be precise level in mind as well, because that is last week's weekly high. Flipping back to the regular chart, you can see that is S1. And if we go over to the session profile, you can see that that is once again the overnight point of control, overnight VPOC, and the regular trading hours high for the April 1st session. On NQ, levels that I would be looking at, if we break the current lows, which also coincides with the initial balance high from that April 1st session, I would be looking for a move back to 13,285, which is that Thursday POC, and furthermore 13,259. Now, if 13,259, 13,241, these levels break, I'm looking for a gap fill from that Wednesday into Thursday session. So just to be clear here, if these levels break, you could call this a 20-point zone, right? So if this breaks, this zone here, I'm looking for a move into this area to close the gap. And then furthermore, obviously, this is a nice level of interest, 13,122. We got some good confluence in that area. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves because that is a couple hundred points lower. So with that said, that's really pretty much it for the forecast this week. We're going to take it really slow on ES. We're going to see if NQ starts to follow. We're going to see if NQ continues to pick up that uptrend. And if so, I will be looking for opportunity zone plays on NQ. I will be looking for opportunity zone plays on ES, but maybe with a little bit less size because we are at those all-time highs. And, other than that, just taking it one level at a time and keeping things under control. As always, that's the most important part. So I want to thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch these videos. One thing I did want to mention is I'm going to be on an interview on Krown's Crypto Cave, I believe later this week. Eric Krown, he's one of my mentors, I like to say, and I like to tell people. With that said, I want to thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch these videos. If you do dig what you see, please feel free to like and subscribe down below. It really does make a difference, and again, I appreciate it immensely. One thing that I did want to mention that's pretty cool is I will be on the Krown's Crypto Cave channel this week, I believe Wednesday or Friday. I'm not 100% sure. If you guys are not familiar with Krown, Eric Krown, that is, Krown is a former options market maker turned crypto trader. He is an incredible trader, and he is the gentleman responsible for teaching me how to trade options. And he was gracious enough to have me on his channel and do a little interview. So I talk about, my journey as a trader and how I got to where I am today. So I will link Krown's channel in the description, and I'll try to link it up here as well in the video itself. But give his channel a look, give Krown a follow, and show him some love. He is a great guy. With that said, if you guys want to learn more about the Trading Network, you can find a link to our free Facebook group in the description below. where I release free trade plans every morning at 9:30 a.m. for ES and the NQ futures markets. You can also find access to our website, thetradingnetwork.io, where you can learn more about one-on-one mentorship with me, the Trading Network proprietary indicator package, which you guys have seen in this video. You can also get access to our private Discord, where you can watch me trade live Monday through Friday every day at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Last but not least, you guys can purchase access to the Fundamentals of Futures Trading course and the FFT course bundles, which also include the indicator package, lifetime Discord access as well. So with all of that said, thank you guys so much one more time. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.